Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this episode I'm joined by suckler farmer Thomas O'Connor from County Kildare, who will be featuring as part of the Irish Grassland Association virtual beef event. I first asked him to tell me about his farming system.
We're running a mixed farm enterprise here in South Kildare. We're predominantly beef with suckler cows, bringing everything through the beef and buying in store cattle for finishing as well. We've heard of a flock of ewes as well, and we grow about 40 acres of cereals, and my father keeps a small herd of sows and pigs as well. So we're a truly mixed enterprise.
You're a busy man. What type of beef enterprise do you operate?
So we're predominantly finishing young bulls. We've a spring calf and suckler cow herd. We're trying to finish our own progeny under 16 months and bringing the heifers through the slaughter at about 24, 25 months after this second grazing season into about a 350 or 60 kilo carcass, and killing the bulls into about a 450 or 60 kilo carcass. We're buying in about 200 or 300 bulls as well for grazing and bringing them through the slaughter at those kind of weights as well.
And how many cows have you calved this spring?
We're slightly back on cow numbers in comparison to where we were in 2018 when we hosted the grass walk. We're back to 70 cows calved this year. That was more so because of trouble with my stock bulls last year. But it's kind of alleviating the problem of I signed up into the beam scheme. So it's alleviating my 5% reduction. So it's helped me out in that.
And what type of stock are you buying in, or what system are you operating on the bulls you're buying in?
So we're buying in 100% continental bulls. I'll be trying to buy those good U-grading animals. Buying them in a kind of a 400 kilos live, hoping to put them to grass for 100 days and put 100 or 120 kilos on them and into a shed then for intensive feeding for another 100 or 120 days and getting them into a strong 440 or 50 kilo carcass.
What do you see as the main pillars supporting the output on your farm?
As I improved on my grassland management, I could increase my stocking rate to go along with that. Like there's no point increasing stocking rate if you're going to have to justify it with bought in either meal or fodder. It's we want to maximize the cheapest form of protein we can grow, or the cheapest form of fodder we can grow, which is grazed grass, and it's given us the best return. So that was from the time I came home farming, that was the first thing I aimed to improve on, was our grassland management and dividing the whole place up into paddocks and simple things like that, and gradually year after year improved what we were doing, and we were able to improve the amount of grass we grew, so we also could increase the amount of cattle we carry or the stock we carry.
And one of the unique features of your farm is the paddock system that you operate. Can you explain how you operate your paddock system?
So the whole farm here would be divided into roughly 5 acre paddocks. So the reason we went for 5 acre paddocks, it can cater for our largest group of stock, which generally would be we generally would have 100 suckler cows and their calves running in one group. So the 5 acre paddock can cater for those that they can graze in. They can, if you put them into a 1500 kilo cover on a 5 acre paddock, they have a grazed in 3 days, and you can go on to your next paddock and a simple system like that. We also graze the cattle in. We'd be grazing in probably around 400 cattle at grass, but we'd only have 3 groups of cattle. So we'd have a group of bulls grazing at grass, a group of yearling heifers, and a group of cows and calves. So it's all about simplifying the system. This year I probably brought on the grassland management a little bit more, in that I'm trying to graze out the paddocks in 48 hours instead of the 72, and even by decreasing that for 24 hours in the paddock, it's probably increased the amount of grass I'm growing as well. The majority of the stuff we do here is simple things, and it's through trial and error and see what works on the farm, and we try and keep everything simple.
Why are you grazing such large numbers of cattle instead of smaller groups?
Simplify the system. I try to buy a uniform batch of cattle, so for everything, it simplifies the whole system. So if I'm getting in cattle for dosing, I'm getting into one batch. So I get in on me yesterday, for instance, I got in 96 bulls out off of grass for grazing. I had them all weighed, dosed, and let back into the next paddock within about two and a half hours on my own. So it's all about simplifying the system. I'm copying what the dairy farmer does. When you have large groups of cattle and you're putting them into a confined area, as in your paddock, you have a strong you have a strong grazing group, and it gives you the ability to clean out your cover of grass fast, and so it in turn is allowing the grass to get back growing. But it's also you're keeping the good quality grass in front of your stock, which is what keeps them thriving and keeps them performing.
With that high stocking rate, how is soil fertility on your farm?
So we'll be soil testing the farm for pretty much 50% every year, and the majority of the soil on this farm will be index 3 or 4. Obviously, with the stocking rate we're running at irrigation levels, so we have a lot of organic material, and that'll be going back out onto the grazing platform, and we were monitoring that the whole time just to keep performance at peak.
And how have you built the P and K for the phosphorus and potassium on the farm?
The majority of that we were in a unique position there, in that before we would have went into the irrigation, we would have been able to spread a lot of the pig slurry on the farms. It's high in P and K, and it's pretty much like rocket fuel. So the range of enterprises that we run kind of complement one another as well. If nothing from the bad pig prices that we're taking for 10 years, at least we had cheap fertilizer coming in the form of it. So we make everything, nothing is wasted on the farm here. We make everything work.
That's great. And with regard to pH on the farm?
Well, we'd be in a high limestone area. In fact, it's probably a lot of our soil would be probably reading. We'd be reading nearly, in cases, up to 7.3 and stuff. So we're probably too high in lime. It's probably having the effect, it's probably blocking up minerals and stuff. So one of the things that would have got into the last couple of years is actually mineral or bolusing cattle with minerals, and it seems to be working well. Like.
And what benefits do you see to measuring grass on your farm?
I think the best way I was ever put to me, if you don't measure, it's like not knowing how much money is in your bank account. So you have to match your grass growth to the amount of cattle you can carry and have a bit of peace of mind. And if you don't know what level of grass you have, you kind of don't really know where you're going. That'd be the best way I think I could describe it anyway.
And with regard to the herd health that you mentioned there a moment ago, with regard to bolusing, what is your herd health plan on the farm?
Just with the level of cattle we'd be buying in, we'd probably be buying cattle 12 months of the year, but we'd have a fairly strict protocol of what comes in. So every animal coming in, when I'd be buying it, with the age profile of an animal I'd be buying, is generally a strong weaning, so they'd be getting 2 shots of Bovipass to cover for pneumonia. They'd also be getting covered for IBR and pneumonia. We'd be blackleg vaccine the cattle, and then they'd also be getting the bolus then throughout the year. So that would be something that'd be routinely done with all stock that's bought in. And the way I like to look at it is I'd be kind of giving the cattle no excuse not to be performing. So if there is an animal not performing, there has to, that pneumonia or one of those diseases isn't the reason why. So we try to be a bit proactive rather than anything else.
And what program do you use on the cows and weanlings?
Cows, a month before calving, would start off with we'd give them their bolus, and they'd give them a Rotavac K99 as well. Then they'd also be getting their shot of IBR booster, so we give that twice a year. So they get a month prior to going to the bull and a month generally prior to calving. And then the cows would also be getting vaccinated for leptovide H as well. The weanings we will start there in September. We'll give the weanings their first shot of Bovipass, and a month later we'll give them the second shot, their booster, and we'll give them the IBR vaccine as well. And they'll be warmed a fortnight before being weaned as well, just so that they have the full immunity, that there's nothing to depress the system. The weanings would also have been vaccinated for blackleg vaccine as 6-week-old calves, and got the booster then again at 10 weeks when they were a month later after the first shot.
You mentioned your issues in 2019 with your stock bull. How has breeding been going to date?
So last year we would have had we'd run 3 stock bulls with the one mob of cows. So it'd be kind of the strongest bull gets to serve the majority of the cows. But last year we were in an unfortunate situation where we actually got photosynthesis with a good young bull we had coming along, and he didn't recover, so he had to be put in the shed for feeding. And then I had a mature bull that probably just got too heavy, and he was mounting the cows, but I wouldn't say he was serving them. So this year we would have invested heavily in handling facilities there in the last 12 months. So this year, with the objective of probably improving the quality of the calves and producing, I decided that for the first 3 weeks of breeding season, I went down the AI road with both the main herd of cows and the replacement heifers. So that was our first year doing that, and I think it's ran fairly smoothly. We're fairly strict with the amount of weeks we leave the bull with, or we run our breeding season for, in that I like a uniform batch of calves, and I rather would bull an extra few heifers and get the breeding season finished quick than be leaving the bull drag out. So the breeding season's probably started here on the 1st of May, and it finished the 1st of July. So we're probably an 8 or 9 week breeding season. We'll be due to scan now in about 2 weeks' time. So, but judging by the level of activity that's going on, I think we should be fairly good now.
And for your first year using AI, what heat detection aids did you use?
Very little now. The only thing I used was tail paint, and I thought it was the best thing since bee's knees. You go out in the morning and you see whatever tail is rubbed, and it was very, very accurate. Like, just with the other benefit, like of the bigger size groups of stock, is there's a lot of activity. If there is a heifer bulling or a cow bulling, she's getting fairly well mounted there, because there's normally a good few looking around. So the tail paint I thought was a very easy method, and it worked very well on this farm anyway.
And how often were you looking at stock?
I was looking at twice a day. So first thing in the morning out to see what was rubbed, was getting them in then for AI generally around after dinner for 2 o'clock for the AI man to come at 6, and then that evening again I go out and back out and check. So I suppose probably 3 times then at that, like when you were getting them in for AI, you'd be catching another few that were coming. Whatever was caught, generally the AI man was at that stage, he'd be at his busiest time of the year. He was inseminating a few hundred cows a day, because you were in the thick of the breeding season with the dairy herd as well. So he came every day at between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. So whatever was caught bulling before that time was shown to the AI man for service. And if I thought she was still showing strong signs of heat through the night, I'd give her the second straw the next day as well, just to be safe.
You hosted the Irish Grassland Beef Conference in 2018. I believe you're involved again this year. As a consequence of COVID-19 restrictions, the 2020 Irish Grassland Beef Farm Walk is taking a slight different approach for 2020. Tell us, what is the plan for this year? So
just with the whole situation with COVID, we've changed tack, and we've gone to a kind of a virtual tour of 3 of the past hosts of the Grassland Association, and I look back to where we were when we hosted the walk and what changes we've made. And it's a great insight. There's 3 good farms there, and it should be well worthwhile tuning in to see what's going on.
We look forward to tuning in to the Irish Grassland Association social media channels on Facebook and Twitter from the 27th to the 29th of July to see Paul Turley, County Down, Tom Halpin, County Meath, and you, Thomas, from County Kildare. Thanks, Thomas, for joining me on the show.
Thanks very much, Catherine.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Thomas for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.